I've been doing more builds these days on and off camera, and one thing that many of them have in common is that a lot of the stuff comes from KBD fans. So today we have the new and exciting TOFU case from them and some other interesting parts to chuck in there. To start off, we have the dependable DZ60 PCB. I've used this many times in the past and it's just a great all-round 60% PCB, providing a decent range of layouts, having RGB underglow lighting, supporting the QMK firmware, and just being very easy to acquire. We got the USB-C version, but this is also available in mini USB, which is also $5 cheaper. We have some GMK screw-in stabilizers and they came just like this. I don't remember if they usually come with the nylon washers, but these ones in particular did not. And the reason why we want washers is to prevent potential shorts from the screws. So as a precaution, I just used some electrical tape over some of the points where a short could happen. So for like the spacebar, it's fine as there's nothing around the holes, and probably even the LED holes would be fine, but I covered them anyway. And I also clipped and lubed the stabs. For the plate, we treated ourselves to a brass mounting plate rather than aluminium or steel. It's a bit more expensive, but you kind of get a combination of the other two, where it's heavy, coming in at about 145 grams, but at the same time being a bit soft. It's 1.5mm thick and feels great. It comes in a quite reflective finish, but it isn't the cleanest as you can see. It doesn't have the same bottom row compatibility as the steel or alu versions, but it's perfectly fine for what we're making today and for a majority of people. Now for the key switches, we've gone with some 65 gram Zilents, but we'll change the springs later, and these are basically a silent version of the well-known tactile Zelio switches from ZilPC. So just like the Cherry MX silent switches, we just have some little dampeners on the stem which dampen the bottom out and top out sounds, creating a very silent switch, hence the name. I also applied some thick lube to each switch and chucked in some 72 gram sprit springs. I won't go through soldering, but it's all very simple through-hole soldering that you can learn. If you want to learn how to solder, I'll put links in the description. Plus, it's just a great skill to have. Although you can buy this assembled with a switch of your choice for a bit more money, and there will be a hot swappable HHKB layout version which looks absolutely amazing. Now to the case, which is something I'm pretty excited about. KBD fans have been treating us with budget options for a while now, and while their 5-degree case and Tina case were fine, they still weren't that kind of standard case that you could recommend to everyone. But the TOFU is something that I think will be very popular for an affordable aluminium 60% case. It feels super solid in the hands as CNC'd aluminium would, and comes in at just over 800 grams. But it is a stunningly simple and solid case. The anodization is clean and looks quite even, but as you can see, it does take them fingerprints. It is available in a good range of colors to match any setup, which is really great to see, but for class we just have the black version. Being a solid case, we of course won't get to actually utilize the RGB underglow lighting on the DZ60, but that's fine. And to make it feel extra nice and perhaps a bit more quiet, I cut up some foam and put it under the PCB with the appropriate cutouts. We took a while to reach a conclusion on what keycaps we would get, especially since we weren't sure on what case we were going to use, but with the sharpness and simplicity of the TOFU, I think that these Enjoy PBT Cherry Profile keycaps work perfectly. This is a 148 key set, so we get most of the compatibility that you will need for the most part, and these are great quality PBT plastic keycaps having a thickness of 1.5mm, and these are dye sublimated, which will be durable over time. And here it is all done, and I'm really digging how it looks. The word that comes to mind for me is classy. Color-wise, it's very simplistic. We have that clean black anodized case, which matches the very clean black legends on the keycaps, and then we have the actual white plastic of the keycaps that gives that real contrast to the case. The light grey modifiers show a little bit of a classical vibe, while not being much of an accent that stands out. It's a kind of warm white and grey that mellows it down a bit. To give it a bit of character, we have these Japanese sub-legends, which happens to kind of fit that TOFU name. I personally really like it. It manages to fill up the board a bit more and give it a bit of edge and just make it look less plain, but at the same time staying clean. The shape of the case is completely stripped down to a slanted rectangle. The lines are super sharp and the corners are indeed pointy. We have sizable bezels, with the sides being about 4mm and the top and bottom about 7mm. Looking at the side profile, and we have that natural inclination to it as there are no external feet. The completely flat sides give it a more monumental look and makes it look thicker and bigger than what it actually is. And what tops it off for me is the brass mounting plate. The shiny reflective gold surface peeks through just enough that you can see it, and since we have that monochromatic theme, the gold fits in just perfectly. Interestingly, the RGB underglow lighting isn't totally wasted, as it actually does come through the top a bit, so in a well lit room you can't really see it, but when you turn the lights off you do see that RGB lighting, which you can turn off of course. And this is because of the clear housings of the ZILENT key switches and a couple of gaps in the plate and PCB. And yeah, these Zilents are for sure an interesting experience. Zelios are arguably one of the best, if not the best, MX tactile switches, known for their tactility and smoothness. And then having these dampeners like the MX Silent switches, which I also really enjoy, make for a unique key switch. I of course put in the 72g springs, so the weight and tactility is different to stock, so I'll just talk about this current setup. The familiar smooth travel is still present, which is helped by the lube. The tactile bump is prevalent, much like its Zelio counterparts, although the lube does take just a bit of that away. It's similar to the tactile bump of a Zelio, but it's a bit difficult to compare as the dampeners change the overall feel of the switch. It feels more full in a way. Usually MX tactiles feel kind of empty to me, which I don't really like. And as with silent switches, they're much softer feeling, especially with that cushion bottom out. So some may say that it's perhaps a bit mushy, and that's just how it is. You won't get the sharpness that a normal switch would have, but this is something that I actually enjoy. And of course, these are very, very quiet. The loudest part of the keyboard are the stabilizer keys because of the actual stabs not being silenced. So you mainly hear that top out sound from the upstroke, and that's about it. And I'm still trying to eliminate that touch of rattle, which is annoying. I'm not much of a switch connoisseur, so if you want to learn more about Zilents in depth, I'll put a link in the description for that. We did make a tiny change to the layout as the user has gotten used to the HHKB layout. So now we have the split backspace in the top right hand corner. So now the backspace is one row lower with the appropriate keycap, which is the correct row profile. And I really do like having it like this, and it's super easy to adapt to and just makes reaching backspace that much easier and comfortable. So overall, this was a really satisfying build. I am in love with the TOFU case. I think that it's just a really good, solid, quality option that is so simplistic yet beautiful that it'll appeal to many people, especially with all the different colors it comes in and of course the value for money. The Zilents deliver great smoothness and tactility while being very quiet. With the lube and 72-gram springs, it's a tad heavy for me, but that's just me, but I still have really enjoyed typing on it. And just the overall aesthetic of it is just so appealing to me. From the Japanese sub-legends to the shiny brass plate underneath, it just exudes class while still being expressive. Thanks to Toasty for letting me build this keyboard for him. I thoroughly did enjoy it and I hope you guys did as well.